Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good, great. This is going to be semi-interactive, so feel free to talk to me, because I'm talking to you guys, so talk to me. We're all in this together. My name is Kevin Mans. Welcome. I am a contracting officer for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. I'm supporting IARPA. My first rule of thumb for giving these presentations is give gratuitous thanks to your supervisor. And for me, that is Michelle Krecka. She's a wonderful contracting officer for IARPA who has given me this awesome opportunity to stand before you today and show you how to get money from us. IARPA uses FAR Part 35 to do our solicitations. How that differs from FAR Part 15 is what most of you might be used to, is that we take an all-in approach. We collect all the best proposals, and then we review them. We try to find as many as proposals as we can that fits the needs of each and every program. These BAAs are unclassified and posted to sam.gov. We typically allow 45 to 60 days for proposals, creation, writing to submit. And then the solicitations, some include white papers, some don't. The BAA will be the final authority on that. So look to the BAA if you have any questions. All your questions will be answered by the BAA. The BAA will have a formal question and answer period. So if we don't get to questions today that you have answered, you have asked that we answered, look to the BAA. The BAA will answer the predominant amount of your questions. If it doesn't answer your questions, ask a question. We will have a formal period for you to do so. And that will be before your proposals are due for submission. Any questions there? No, great. The email that has been shown is provided for now for questions that you may have. There will be an additional email directly supporting the BAA, specifically for you to submit your questions on. All questions need to be in an unclassified format, unless there are classified aspects that you are going to need to ask questions for. But as for right now, I don't believe that that is the case. No answer that is given back to you will be provided directly to the offeror. It will be provided to everyone who is potentially going to submit a proposal, okay? Everybody's going to get the same answer all at the same time. Any questions? No, good. Here are some eligible applicants. Actually, for the eligible applicants, these are the entities that are not eligible to be partners. We do not allow you to partner with government entities, other government agencies, FFRDCs, UARCs, MITREs, things like that. That will give you guys an unfair advantage, and that's not fair to everybody else who doesn't have that partnership. Now, I will say, if there is a technology or some information that you would like to have, or you think that might benefit your proposal for this program, ask us for it, and we will supply that to everyone, so everybody's on the same playing field. We are trying to level the playing field, and that's what we're going to do, okay? All right. Any questions with these government organizations that you cannot partner with? No, great. Oh, the last point there. In some cases, foreign entities may propose or may not propose as prime contractors. That is important. Ask a question if you want a foreign entity as a sub. Ask us, let us know, or if a foreign entity wants to propose as a prime contractor, ask us if that's okay, and we will let you know how to proceed with that. Collaborations and teaming. The government does not get involved in collaborations and teaming. We will not direct you to another vendor or what have you to team. That's all on your own. We're all big boys and girls, right? Okay. It's interactive. The BAA will contain a description of the proposal, proposal preparation instructions, including those for white papers, if applicable, evaluation factors for selection, the method for evaluation and selection, submission instruction, and due dates. And in some notes, in some cases, IARPA may only request the technical volume and overall cost data initially. I know that we get this question a lot. When I submit my proposal, do I have to have a full-fledged cost certified costs to submit? Because sometimes that takes time. No, you do not. We want you to be in the ballpark. We want to know that you have a good grasp on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to tell us. And we want to make sure the overall general numbers match or relate to what you're doing. Now, if your cost proposal comes in and is millions of dollars, let's say, out of line with what you originally proposed, we're going to ask some questions that's going to draw some red flags like, do these people really know what they're doing? In some cases, hopefully not. We won't have to pull you aside and say, hey, come clean this up and help us figure this out. White papers. If white papers are requested, the BAA will include special instructions for the white papers to be addressed, as well as submittals. Excuse me. The purpose is to ensure IARPA can focus on proposals of interest to the government and inform the offerer of business decisions whether or not to invest in a full proposal. Now, if you still choose to submit a full proposal after we have told you this idea isn't really what we're looking for, that's totally up to you. We'll still take it, but just know that, you may get that. Unclassified proposals must be submitted through IARPA's IDEAS system unless we deem otherwise. So IDEAS is our preferred method of submitting proposals. Here's the IDEAS website. This information will be supplied to you later, so you don't have to write it down now, but if you want to, you can. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. Offerers are strongly encouraged to register in IDEAS at least 1 week prior to the proposal due date. I normally tell people do it 2 weeks in advance, just in case, there are any problems. We all know when you're trying to rush the last minute to do something, technology doesn't work in our favor. So don't put yourself behind the 8 ball. Get out there early, get to IDEAS and register. If there are any classified proposals required, the BAA will contain separate instructions for the delivery and acceptance of classified proposals. Any questions? East and West, I like it. Each BAA will detail the evaluation criteria and the method for evaluation and selection. IARPA generally follows a 2-stage process. First, like I said before, we're going to evaluate your proposal for technical merit. And we're going to go through our selection process. This is conducted through a very rigorous scientific peer review after each offeror is notified. Okay. Of their selection. Once you're notified of selection, we are going to then move into cost proposal negotiations, where yes, we are going to work with you to give us your best and final cost proposal, and we're going to look then for that certified cost and pricing. Proposals will be reviewed individually against the BAA and not against other proposals. I'll say that again. We will review your proposal against the BAA, against what we asked for, and not against another offeror's proposal. IARPA also follows FAR Part 9 regarding organizational conflicts of interest. The main principles being 1, preventing conflicting roles that might bias a contractor's judgment, and 2, preventing an unfair competitive advantage. Like I said, working with another government agency or doing something else that you shouldn't be doing. The BAA will describe how offerers are to identify and disclose all relevant facts to potential OCIs for the offerer as well as proposed team members. So if your son, daughter, mother, brother, husband, wife works for whomever, we want to know that so we know who else we're possibly working with. OCI disclosures may require a mitigation plan describing actions the offerer intends to take to prevent the conflict. IARPA generally prohibits contractors from concurrently providing system engineering, technical assistance, CETA, and T&E support while being technical R&D performers due to OCI concerns. Excuse me. And if anybody has a question on that, I'll be more than happy to answer that right now. No questions, East and West. I love it. The government needs to be able to effectively manage the program, evaluate the output and deliverables, communicate the information across the government, and support further use of what we are developing in this program and in potentially follow-on programs. Offerers will address their IP rights. This is very important. Offerers will address their IP rights assertions in their proposal. The BAA contains an attachment that provides a template. So we'll give you what we're looking for. We'll give you how to write what we're looking for. And when we review your assertions, we are going to make a determination on what is in the best interest of the government. Okay? Pre-publication review. Now, IARPA encourages you to do publication of unclassified IARPA-funded research in peer-reviewed journals, presentations at conferences, publications, and conference proceedings. The only thing we ask is you guys give us a heads up. Hey, IARPA, this thing I'm working on for you, I'm about to publish this. Are you guys okay with this? This is what I want to say. Are you okay with it? Generally, we're going to be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. On some rare occasions, we're going to be like, we may not want you to say it that way. Can you say this? Turn happy to glads, right? Everybody. Give a courtesy copy to the IARPA PM and the contracting officer and core/COTAR in advance. That's what we're talking about there, right? All right. Academic institution acknowledgement. According to Executive Order 12333, an academic institution acknowledgement letter is required for offerers that are academic institutions and for any proposed teammate that is an academic institution. They are most of them, the academic institutions, are very familiar with this process. And it must be signed by a senior official of the institution, the president, chancellor, provost, or other appropriately designated individual. This is very, very important. The government needs to know what schools, colleges, and universities are going to be working and doing business with the government. IARPA requires this letter before entering into negotiations and or awarding the contract. So if you don't have it, it's going to delay your money. And no one likes their money delayed. I don't. Multiple proposal submissions to IARPA. BAs usually allow an entity to participate in multiple submissions as a prime and or subcontractor. If an entity is selected for more than one team, IARPA will not fund duplicative work. Let me say that again. BAAs usually allow an entity to participate in multiple submissions as a prime and or subcontractor. If an entity is selected for more than one team, IARPA will not fund duplicative work. Now, what does that mean? Say you're on 5 teams and your cost is $1 million. We're going to split that cost amongst those 5 teams. So you're only going to get $200,000 across the 5 teams. Now, and that's only after we determine that the work that you're doing is or is not duplicative. If your work is substantively different, and I'm talking about you got some real meat and potatoes behind these 2 different proposals, we will let you know and we will fund your work accordingly. It has happened, but it's very, very, very rare. Very rare. Generally, cost or cost plus fixed fee type contracts are awarded due to the nature of the R&D work. We understand that you guys are doing, what do we call it? Far-reaching, far-developing work, and we will pay you accordingly what your cost is plus a fixed fee, which is why we go into negotiations with you and why we ask for certified cost and pricing. IARPA may consider other contract types such as firm fixed price, as well as non-FAR-based agreements such as other transactions. That will be based on whether or not your accounting system can handle a cost type contract, amongst other factors. We will, again, work with you on that. You will not be left in the dark to wonder, well, what kind of contract am I getting? Some of them may be mixed between firm fixed price and cost. We'll determine that later. Here's a disclaimer. The information conveyed in this brief is for planning and general information purposes only, and is subject to change. So listen to what I said, take it in, let it breathe, okay? Now, the BAA will be the final word on everything covering this program. So if the BAA comes out and says something that you haven't heard in this presentation, the BAA is the final word for the program. That's why we encourage you to ask questions, ask them often, ask them early, ask as many as you want. It doesn't matter. We will answer them in a timely manner and get back to everyone with the question and the answer. Because if one person's asking the question, everybody's thinking the same thing. And with that, I will take a couple of questions. Oh, before I do, we will not be answering any questions regarding the cost of the total cost of the program or a typical award for each proposal. So we're not going to answer any of those questions. So if you have them, I hope you're not trying to answer that question. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
You mentioned about we submit prepared for review. How typically is the turnaround?
So the question was, I stated I requested pre-publication reviews for peer reviews for things that are going to be published. The question was, what is the turnaround time for those documents? They vary. Usually they're fairly quick. Shorter than a month. Generally about 2 weeks. Sounds good? Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned questions submitted would be posted on SAM along with the answers. Is there a down select bidders list that would have access, or anyone on SAM.gov could get access?
Okay, good question. So the question was, I mentioned that questions, Q&As will be posted on sam.gov. Does anybody have access to that list? Everybody who is sam.gov. It's wide open. So anybody who wants to go in, who is interested in what IARPA is doing, will have access to those questions and the answers on sam.gov. I will take one more. Yes. No. Yes. Okay. So the question is whether or not the contracting will go directly through IARPA. Yes, we do not. So we have in the past. We have in the past. I don't want to say farmed out the contracting, but we've partnered with other agencies, I'll say that, to do our contracting for us. But because we are growing as a team, yay, we're doing this in-house. This will be done by IARPA. The CO for this will be one of our coworkers, Demario Grover, who was not able to make it today. That's why I'm here. Sorry that you had to deal with me, to make the award. Okay. Sir, did you have the same question? Okay, great. That will be it. All right, I'll take yours. Everybody else who has questions, even write their questions down, submit them, and we will re-answer them for everybody else. And if we do not get to your question, wait for the BAA, because the BAA will answer all of these questions. Okay? And if we don't get to the question, if the BA does not answer the questions, what I said in the presentation, the Q&A is the time for you to answer that, get your questions asked. So I'll take your question, and then that's going to be it.
After the BAA, after we submit the proposal, how long will it turn out?
So the question was, once we submit the proposals, what is the turnaround for notification of selection, correct? It varies. I love that answer. And I know you guys may not like that answer, but really, it varies. It's going to depend on how many people bid. It's going to depend on how many people we have on our source selection panel to review the proposals. It's going to depend on the OCI issues of the people reviewing the proposals. And it's going to depend on any security related issues that come up during the process. So it really depends. We like to say 9 months, but sometimes it can be shorter, but sometimes, help us all, it can be longer. Okay, that's going to be it. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we will momentarily take a break till 12:30. Anybody who would like to get questions in, I think you have around 5 more minutes to get those questions in on the chat to all panelists or to the email alias. We will address those questions at 12:30. There is information about lunch if you would like to go to the local place in your folders. I think that it's called Chesapeake something. I think it's one building over in the hotel. I'm not familiar with anything that I just said, so just take that with a grain of salt. We'll reconvene here at 12:30 for responses to questions. Okay, welcome back, everybody. And now we will go through a number of the questions that were asked this morning, and I will give you some responses. Number 1, must the proposals address both TA1 and TA2, or can they cover just one of the two? The answer is that all proposals must address both TA1 and TA2. Is part of the research for video links considered fundamental research? IARPA does not declare whether an effort is fundamental research. Timeline to award. The draft says program start August 2024. Was that real, intentional? This was based on a tentative proposal due time period. Can a certain organization from another country serve as the contractor for a given team? This will be clarified in the final BAA. When is the BAA expected to be released? We anticipate 30 to 45 days. Can you advise if this program would permit non-US citizens to participate, or must all participants be US citizens? Yes, non-US citizens may participate. What is the envisioned scale of the self-evaluation data that performers will use to populate the project leaderboard? This is useful for performers to budget compute hardware services designated for this purpose. A rough order of magnitude is likely hundreds of hours. Can we use open source data, e.g. geo-located public photos, in our modeling build process? All data must meet requirements of an approved privacy protection plan. That was the response. What type of environments are of interest? urban, rural, military? Answer, cameras may include multiple environments. Will all collection types be used during all phases? So collection types will increase through the phases. The BAA mentions that extrinsic camera parameters, position, orientation, will be uncertain in later phases. What can be said about intrinsic camera parameters, e.g. focal length? Will they be known in any/all phases? So during phase 1, they may be provided to the extent available. During final phases, systems will need to function without camera parameters. What metadata will be available from cameras at different stages? Date, field of view, full pose and timestamps for phase 1, location for phase 2, general location for phase 3. Can simulation be a substitute for data collection? Response, IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. Question, we understand that no development data will be provided by IARPA. Is the expectation that performers would use publicly available data sets in the selected data types? IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. Now, there are a number of questions that we have here that have similar responses, so I'll repeat them. I'll say the questions in order, and then they all have the same response. It seems that each performer will need to spend considerable funds to collect data for this program. Data will be required for developing and testing the algorithms, ground truthing data for tracking a few thousand objects across multiple days and time with 5,000 confusers seems like a big data collection task that each performer would need to do. Won't it be more efficient if the government collected and provided data to everyone? Next question. Is the use of external, e.g. satellite reference information, out of scope for correcting unknown camera poses in later phases? Does cross-data training include annotation? So in response to all these, IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. What kind of auxiliary data will be allowed? So IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. Auxiliary data provided at test time will be clarified in the final BAA. Will teams be expected to collect data if it is necessary for their solution? TA2, will all provided pose/position information always be accurate, or must performers deal with inaccurate, corrupted camera info? It depends on the phase. See the final BAA for that progression through the phases. Will airborne video be used during phase 1? It will be announced at program kickoff. If N cameras are collected with 1 hour of data, will we have N hours or 1 hour? N hours. Will complete track localization accuracy be evaluated across blind spots, across camera views? For example, is nominal motional modeling an expected capability? No. Will all data be provided by IARPA? No. How would we geolocate a body camera? There is no need to geolocate sensors. Geolocalization is for objects in imagery. Is data collection by the performer required? No, but if a performer solution requires data, the performer must obtain that data. Will data be provided at the start of the program so researchers can begin development without waiting to do data collection? No, but there are some publicly available data sets that might meet some objectives, such as the DIVA dataset. Is there a minimal amount of video to be collected per camera? No, systems need to function in the open world. Are there minimum targets for number of individuals collected to be delivered as part of performers' collection? Performers should collect data as they see fit for their solutions. Question. Quantitative definition of temporally proximate versus temporally distant. So that would be the same day versus a different day. Will minimum image quality be defined? Resolution, compression levels. Solutions should work on open world video. Cameras are static cameras, question mark. No ego moving ones, question mark. There will be both moving and stationary cameras. Do we need to have UAV data as well as ground camera data? These are anticipated to be included in program video types. Will there be a particular focus on certain data types? Ground versus building, mounted versus airborne. These are anticipated to be included in the program video types. Will performers need to time localize video? This is not a requirement, but IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. Again, we will have a few questions here that will have the same response. How about other visible sensors, such as event-based cameras? While VideoLinks is interested in re-ID of mobile objects, they may be stationary in some views. Is the program interested in identity of stationary objects moved? Which I guess they mean re-identification of stationary objects moved while no one was looking. What world knowledge is available in the T&E function? For example, map of facility, details of fixed entities, trees, lights. And does the government expect that T&E data will be restricted in a way that precludes processing with cloud-based compute resources? So all of these will be clarified in the final BAA. Question. Where will the manual annotation data come from for TA1 re-ID speedup metrics? Will the government provide manual annotation statistics, or do performers need to accumulate this data on our own? So this will be independently performed by T&E. We plan to provide general statistics related to that annotation. Do you consider some sensors may be compromised or malicious? We expect noise and errors as the phases progress. In the phase 1, it seems that timestamps are provided for each frame. Is this correct? Yes. Do you consider that targets change appearance, like changing clothes to evade detection, e.g. adversarial input? Evasion detection is not an objective of the program, but the objective is to re-identify the same object regardless of change in external appearance in later phases. For generic objects, the BAA gives examples of ships and marbles. Could you give some examples of object types that would be of interest? Are there constraints on the physical sizes or pixel counts on these generic objects? Response, foreground versus background. Would IARPA consider approaches that utilize an ensemble of models to provide the best performance on people/vehicle re-ID versus a model that is used for generic object? IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. Question. While VideoLinks is interested in re-ID of mobile objects, they may be stationary in some views. Is the program interested in re-ID of stationary objects that moved when no one was looking? It is possible. Will computational resources, e.g. AWS, be provided by the government? No. Will IARPA provide cloud compute? No. RE, video sources. Will metadata from aerial sensors, e.g. KLV, and/or collection platforms, e.g. telemetry, flight profile, be available to the downstream analytics? Not necessarily. The priority of efficiency, e.g. efficiency, speed, latency, and effectiveness, e.g. accuracy. Oh, that was all a question. The priority of efficiency and effectiveness, so looking for priorities. When we have higher accuracy, usually with a larger model, it causes more processing time. How will you evaluate these systems? Processing speed and latency are not evaluation metrics. Runtime metrics are provided in the BAA. Will privacy of target objects be considered? Approaches to protect target privacy. Proposers must have an approved privacy protection plan with IRB approvals for any potential PII collections. The objective is to re-identify the same subject regardless of change in appearance in later phases. For short-term, temporally proximate re-ID, could you give a rough definition of time period, minutes, hours, etc.? Same day. What is the largest number of people, objects expected in the same scene? These are a few questions I'm going to ask with the same response to all of them. So again, what is the largest number of people, objects expected in the same scene? Are people just walking or doing different activities? What are the expected topographies of the scenes? What is the smallest object size in pixels? How long the time interval and how big the area? What is the level of crowdedness? In response to all these questions, solutions should work on open world video. For geolocation of cameras, can performers assume that overhead referenced satellite imagery and DTED will be available for the site? Geolocation of cameras is not a requirement, but some types of reference, such as satellite imagery, will be available. Is there an enrollment step, as in traditional re-ID, or should all objects of interest be discovered and auto-enrolled? If the latter, what is the distinction between objects of interest and confusers in the T&E process? This is open set, open world. Confusers are present to serve as potential false positives, but will not be evaluated for positive detections. Are there constraints on the solution needing to work offline without access to external data? That's question number one. Question number two, are stationary objects considered foreground, e.g. parked cars? Three, can we reduce the concept of generic object to transient objects? All of these will be clarified in the final BAA. Hardware requirements. Is there a budget limitation for the inference machine or a requirement for running system on edge devices, etc.? So this will be clarified in the final BAA, but edge processing is not an objective. Can you provide some color on the transition partners and their interests? For example, is Project Maven a transition program for video links? We transition to intelligence community partners. Are cell phone cameras in scope? Yes. Are videos from moving ground platforms in scope? Yes. The impression from the draft BAA is that there will be, will the F1 score be computed per frame or video? F1 will be computed over all frames. What are the reference data sources for TA2? Building maps? K-maps were mentioned. Will there be other data sources? IARPA is interested in diverse and innovative approaches to meet program goals. This will be clarified in the final BAA. How are missed detections evaluated? It is included in the re-ID metric, the re-ID accuracy metric, the F1 metric. Will complete track localization accuracy be evaluated between blind spots across camera views? E.g., is nominal motion matching an expected capability? No. Question. This seems to be an enterprise cloud tool. Can you speak to the API interface? Will it only be defined for data types, or will it also have outputs to some online dashboard where the results need to be posted? There's no expectation that this will be an enterprise cloud tool. The API specifications will be provided at kickoff. Will localization of an object within a frame count in the evaluation? This will be clarified in the final BAA. Just looking back to see if I missed anything. Thank you. And I just want to check with Pete over here for the scheduling moving forward. Given that we're a little ahead, are we starting the lightning talks earlier or are we breaking?
I think we should start lightning talks earlier.
Okay, so we are going to start the lightning talks earlier. We were planning to have a break immediately after the presentation, but this was only a half hour. So you can decide.
We think maybe, let's start at 5 after.
Okay, so right now it's about 5 to 1, 10-minute break. 1:05, lightning talks will start in this room and remain online as well. Thank you all. I appreciate your interest and in coming to Proposers Day. There's just one other thing I'd just like to clarify. I know some people aren't in the room, but as much as I just responded to all those questions, just recall what I said at the beginning of the day, that the BAA is the final word. So if there's anything in the BAA that is different in any of the responses that I just said, the BAA stands.